From ancient desert monks to contemporary religious sisters, brothers, and priests, a small band of men and women in every generation choose to consecrate their lives to God with unique vows that give radical witness to the gospel. In the early Church, letters of St. Paul refer to distinct groupings, including groups of celibate women dedicated to prayer and charity. In the Church's beginnings, there was a great persecution of Christians. This lasted until 313, when the Roman Emperor Constantine issued the Edict of Toleration. Christians then sought ways other than martyrdom to give themselves completely to the faith. Saint Anthony the Great heeds the gospel call to sell all he has, serve the poor, and live a life of asceticism. He eventually takes up residence in the desert to live in solitude and prayer. His story is recorded by Saint Athanasius, Bishop of Alexandria, and becomes a 4th century bestseller that inspires other men and women to live as hermits. Saint Anthony said, "I saw the snares that the enemy spreads out over the world, and I said, groaning, 'What can I get through from such snares?' Then I heard a voice saying to me, 'Humility.'" As the Church grew, houses of monks and nuns were established in the Egyptian desert. Pachomius, a contemporary of St. Anthony the Great and a convert to Christianity, created a model for cenobitic or common way of life based on the early Christian community in Jerusalem, with all members sharing their goods and praying in common. Saint Basil established large communities of monks in Asia Minor, which is modern-day Turkey. As Bishop of Caesarea, Basil had his monks engage in the apostolic work of teaching and pastoral care. Saint Jerome, scholar and Bible translator, moved to Bethlehem, where he set up and lived in a monastery. Saint Augustine writes rules for monks and nuns during his early years as a bishop in North Africa. He also founded monasteries. Saint Augustine wrote, "What does love look like? It has the hands to help others. It has the feet to hasten to the poor and needy. It has eyes to see misery and want. It has the ears to hear the sighs and sorrows of men. That is what love looks like." There was a surge of monastic communities in the Eastern and Western Church. In 470, St. Bridget established Kildare Abbey in Ireland, a double monastery for monks and nuns. Common life or community became more dominant than the hermit's way of life and spread to France, Germany, and Italy. Saint Benedict of Nursia founded monasteries and wrote a rule for monks moderate in tone compared to other rules of monks of the time. It soon became the standard for European monasticism and is still used today by Benedictines throughout the world. Benedict's twin sister, Saint Scholastica, heads a community of women near Benedict's monastery at Monte Cassino. She later is named the patron saint of nuns. This is from the rule of Saint Benedict. Of the reception of guests, let all guests who arrive be received as Christ, because he will say, "I was a stranger, and you took me in." Monasteries in Europe maintain the literature of the ancient world, and Christian scripture is preserved and copied. Large monasteries are centers of cultural and economic activity, harboring schools, hospitals, guest houses, and farms. Meanwhile, Europe is ravaged by war and instability. The Benedictine Abbey of Cluny in central France spearheaded reforms of the medieval church and produced leaders, including monks, became bishops and even popes. Camaldolesi and Carthusian hermit and contemplative monks are founded by Saint Romuald in Italy and Saint Bruno in the French Alps. Both continue to this day. The Cistercian order, or Trappists, greatly increased in number and influence with the help of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux. Saint Bernard wrote, "He who prays and labors lifts his heart to God with his hands." Saint Norbert combined a monastic regimen with parish work, foreshadowing the coming of the Mendicant, or begging orders, and their service in cities. The first lay association, or third order of laity affiliated with a religious order, is founded with the establishment of the Norbertine Third Order, often referred to as associates, tertiaries, lay associates, or secular tertiaries. Such associations continue today. The mendicant religious orders emerged as towns and cities developed. In contrast with the previous emphasis on contemplative life, these new religious orders preach the gospel and respond to the needs of the poor. The four major mendicant religious orders are the Carmelites, founded in 1150, Franciscans in 1209, Dominicans in 1214, and Augustinians in 1256. St. Thomas Aquinas joined the Dominicans in 1242. Among the Church's greatest theologians, canon law deems him the guide to be followed for those studying for priesthood. The Carmelites established a rule, actually a set of rules, meant to guide a daily life of prayer and contemplation. As the Carmelite order grows, it combines contemplative life with apostolic activity. In 1209, St. Francis of Assisi founded the Franciscan order. Over the centuries, various branches of Franciscan men's and women's communities emerge, with members exercising influence as teachers. Franciscans can also promote popular piety practices, such as the Christmas crib and Stations of the Cross. St. Francis wrote, "Preach the gospel at all times, and when necessary, use words." In 1517, Martin Luther proposed a 95 Thesis in Wittenberg, Germany, symbolically beginning the Protestant Reformation and its accompanying social and religious upheaval. Saint Teresa of Avila and Saint John of the Cross are Carmelite mystics, writers, and reformers in Spain, whose writings continue to influence Catholic spirituality. In 1540, the Jesuits were founded by Saint Ignatius of Loyola. Their efforts in education and mission continue to wield influence in the Church and world. According to Saint Ignatius and Ignatian spirituality, every way of preparing to find the divine will as to the management of one's life for the salvation of the soul is called a spiritual exercise. In 1545, the Council of Trent began. It encouraged renewal of religious orders and new forms of a religious life. Apostolic religious orders of men and women are established. These new communities emphasized serving the needs of the poor, especially through education and medical care. With St. Vincent de Paul, St. Louise de Marillac forms the first community of non-cloistered sisters. Many religious orders are founded in Europe to meet social needs in the wake of the French Revolution. St. Elizabeth Ann Seton founded the first apostolic community of women in the U.S. In 1947, Pope Pius XII encouraged the formation of secular institutes, a distinct form of consecrated life. These groups of priests and laity promise poverty, obedience, and chastity without communal life or distinctive clothing. 1950 to 1965 were the peak growth years for U.S. religious communities. Religious women in the U.S. reached their highest number of nearly 180,000 in 1965. They continued to outnumber men in religious life 4-1. 1962 to 1965 saw the Second Vatican Council. Among many other reforms meant to modernize the Church, this worldwide council, or gathering of bishops, calls for renewal of religious communities. Communities are urged to return to their roots and original charism, or guiding spirit, as well as to respond to the needs of the times. Religious communities experience change and upheaval. People continue, as always, to found new religious communities in response to God's call. Religious life begins to attract new interest. From Perfectae Caritas, the decree on the adaptation and renewal of religious life. Religious should remember there is no better way than their own example to commend their institutes and gain candidates for the religious life. From 2013 to the present, Pope Francis draws attention to religious life when he is elected in 2013. A Jesuit, he is one of only 34 religious order members to become Pope. The Church designated 2015 as the year of consecrated life, devoted to the renewal of religious life, the celebration of the witness of members of religious orders, and an invitation to young people to consider a vocation.